Just a moment, folks. We good?
We got it.
All right. Stevie 5K, Confessions of a Car Salesman. This week's topic, salesman slang. Everybody has jargon for whatever their line of work profession is. Salesman's jargon or slang is pretty colorful. I'm going to start with a typical sentence. It's a little bit exaggerated just to illustrate. The Green Pre has an up on a brass hat with 2 pounds of Trump money. The up has a trade with new shoes, a hook and a hole, sneakers, and a BCF. He thinks it's worth a pair of nickels, but the ACV is a quarter. Now, you probably understand some of that. You can probably figure out some of it, but I'm going to go over each one of them and some other stuff. I'm going to stop for a moment and ask during this, if you learned something, if you're amused by something, please hit the share button. I don't charge for this. I do this for your benefit, entertainment, and information. All I ask is to hit the share button. All right, let's start out with Green P, also newbie or FNG. That's the new guy on the sales floor. Actually, I'm going to use this to jump off on this. Next week, I'm going to be talking about what it takes to be a good car salesman. Green P, newbie, is somebody that's new to the business. We make them run out and get coffee. We make them put plates on. We give them a hard time. They almost never survive. FNG is for a freaking new guy if I clean it up a little bit. Up, some dealerships work what they call an up system. That means if there's 5 salesmen, the first salesman that's there in the morning gets the first customer that comes in, and he doesn't get another turn until the other 4 have had their turns. Now there's some stuff that goes along with that. Now not every dealership works that way. The one I'm currently at doesn't. But they still use it to refer to a potential client on the lot. They'll still call them an up. Now if somebody was in yesterday and come back today or next week, we call them a B back. Obviously they were here before, they're back again. Now places that have an up system, there's another term that they use that's called walk-in. If somebody walks on the lot and starts asking you a question, it usually doesn't count as an up. It's usually somebody who is on a lunch break from the business across the street, or actually we have a hair salon across the street, so every once in a while we get a husband walking in over here, killing time while the wife's in getting a haircut. So if we were working an up system, they wouldn't count that as a turn because it really isn't a potential for a sale out of it. Brass hat, this is an old term from GM, and it just basically means a factory exec car. 2 pounds, that's $2,000. 5 pounds would be $5,000. Trunk money is like a rebate, only it's not advertised and it goes directly to the dealer. So it doesn't necessarily get disclosed to the customer. New shoes, new tires on the car. Hook means it's a manual transmission. Hole means sunroof. Sneakers means leather. BCF is short for a bad Carfax. That means there's something on the Carfax that's going to hurt the value of the car. Could be an accident, could be TMU, which stands for true mileage unknown. Could be a lemon law buyback. Pair of nickels and a quarter. A nickel is $500. A pair of nickels is $5,500. Quarter is $2,500. ACV is actual cash value. Now, I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit. Some dealerships that get a lot of trunk money, when you go in with a trade, if your trade's worth $2,000, they're going to take $1,000 of that trunk money, tell you your trade's worth $3,000. The actual cash value is $2,000, but they tell you the trade's worth $3,000 because nobody's happy with the actual cash value of the trade. And if you go to 3 other dealerships that don't have trunk money and they all tell you your trade's worth $2,000, you feel like the first place is giving you the best deal. In reality, they're probably holding more trunk money that could be negotiated out of the deal. Now we're going to go on to some that weren't in the first paragraph. Sandbagging. That's a salesman who has a sale, who doesn't book the deal with management, hoping to pull it out after they announce a bonus. Not a good thing. This is a worse thing. Curbing a sled. Somebody comes in with $1,000 car, and instead of letting the house put the number on the car and trade it in, they tell the customer that their niece needs a car, or can I buy it from you, and they give them $1,000. This is cheating the house, it's cheating the dealership. Any car dealership, the owner probably has millions of dollars invested for the opportunity to get that trade in. So by you doing that and shortchanging the people you work for is one of the most dishonest things you can do. TO, turnover. That means that you're bringing the customer in to see a manager or bringing a manager over to see the customer. And I'll get back to that in a second. Bird dog. Somebody that's happy with the treatment that I've given them as a salesman, refers somebody else to me. Very often I might give them a gift card for a dinner out or something. Sometimes this gets repeated, and it's called bird dogging. PhD. That stands for Parents Had Dealership. In every town, there's some place where the person that owns the dealership, the only reason they own it is because their parents had it before them and willed it to them. Now, this goes to the structure of how some places work. They have a desk or a tower where a manager sits to control the flow and the payments and the structure of all the deals. Now, the place I work doesn't really work that way. The salesmen handle the customers in a professional manner and quote the prices. When we quote a payment, the first time we call it a pencil, because the customer could say, well, I want a longer term, shorter term, more miles on the lease, less money down. So that's why we call it a pencil. And if you do go to the tower that's desking a deal, you go to the tower or the desk and they start you out with that pencil. Let's see. Here's some not necessarily nice terms about potential customers. Tire kicker, pipe smoker, grinder. These are all basically names for people that come in and spend a lot of time with the salesman, whether they like our personality, whether they're lonely, they don't really have an intention of purchasing a car. I think it's wrong to ever assume that's who's in front of you, but in retrospect, sometimes you can decide that's what happened. Now, somebody with bad credit sometimes is referred to as a get-me-bought. Now, in reality, it goes a little bit deeper than they just have bad credit. A get-me-bought has been to 3 dealerships, and at the 3 dealerships, each time he's told, because of credit issues or unemployment history or lack of money down or negative equity in their current car, that they can't be helped at that particular dealership. They will continue to go to dealerships thinking that the next one will be able to get them out of their hole. And they will keep going until somebody says, well, we have a solution. That's a real term for a get-me-bought. Now, for that person, the bank that finally buys the paper is likely to be called a mouse house. That's what's called the places that handle and give you a loan at 20% interest and you never get out of the hole. There's another thing that happens in a situation like that. It's called a straw purchase. Somebody's credit is so bad that even with a good cosigner, they can't get approved. What will happen sometimes is the cosigner will buy the car for the person with bad credit, and we call that a straw purchase. Dehorse. Some dealerships will take the trade, they'll make up an excuse, get you out of the trade-in, get you into the car you're buying or into a loaner car. That's dehorsing. Closer or a hammer. Well, you don't want to talk to this person. Some places have people, instead of salespeople, that are basically greeters. Then they'll bring a closer in, and if the closer can't get the deal done, they bring the guy in they call the hammer. It's a lousy way to sell cars. It's not what we do here, but those are the terms. Cold calling. That's a practice that some dealerships do, where they open up the phone book and start with the A's and just start calling people and try to entice them into the dealership. Again, that's not something we do here. I'm just giving you the terms. Gut. That's just another name for the interior of a car. So if the thing has a black leather gut, that's just referring to the interior. Now, I'm going to go over a couple words in unison here and actually talk about the process a little bit more. In this dealership, when somebody brings in an expert with them, they're actually referred to as a Maven, which I believe is a Yiddish word. The last place I worked, they call them a third baseman or just the expert. Usually these people just don't feel intimidated, but they usually don't have much more good information than the person that is intimidated to come in and buy a car. Very often they stand in the way of us helping the customer, the client, get the best situation for them. Whatever your profession is, if you've been an electrician for the last 15 years and somebody that wired a lamp for his desk comes in and tells you how to wire the house, I'm sure you get rankled. And very often that's what the Maven, the third baseman, or the expert does with us. And the last term is a shark. Now, I'm going to talk about this more last week, but 20 years ago, I was probably a shark. I was moving the entire time, looking for the next customer to throw into a car, whatever it took. Now, I'm older and wiser. I've developed a great customer base. So I usually don't even try to get in front of the next customer. I usually try to avoid it because I probably have an appointment that'll be there shortly after who's already bought 3 cars from me. But that's what the term shark means. You know, a shark, if it stops swimming, the old wives' tale is they'll suffocate. So when you see the salesmen that are running around a lot, I actually worked in a place where if somebody pulled in the front door and a salesman said, I've got that person, one of the sharks would run through the service department and circle around and beat that first salesman to the customer. That's obviously not what happens here. And if it's happening at the dealership you pull in, beware. So, next week, what it takes to be a good car salesman. And again, I implore you, if you enjoyed any of this, learned anything, please hit share, Stevie 5K. Oh, next week, Wednesday evening, 5:30, the same time. We're moving it off Tuesdays. I hope Wednesday works for everyone. And send me questions if you got them. I'm here for that.